When we talk about leadership, what some of our participants from workshops have told us is the fact that leadership that they have learned is no longer relevant to the VUCA world that they face today. All of the volatility, uncertainty, complexity and ambiguity that they face. What they want is a holistic, integrated and interconnected framework that helps them to address all of this complexity and dynamism that they face in their lives.
The fact is, with so much happening, how are we going ahead and thinking about our own personal leadership?
Workshop sets you thinking into that discovery mode of what's your larger purpose in life, what are you doing today, how is that relevant to the larger purpose that you're seeking in life. So somewhere that vertical coherence reference is pretty paramount, and it gives a great baseline for us to start evaluating the way we treat and go about our leadership skills.
An eye-opener in many aspects. The way leadership has been taught in business schools, the way leadership gets taught in your work environment, to the way leadership is shown out here is a paradigm shift. Okay? For example, I never thought spirituality has anything to do with leadership. But I go back with the basic concepts of saying how spirituality can help you in becoming a good leader. If you're a good leader, then how a better leader?
I think the time that we spent was not in terms of traditional learnings that we get when we go for any leadership trainings. I think the amount of focus that was laid upon on various perspectives, the 6-star model that was taught over last 3 days, it was more in line of correlating ourselves and how do we move up on the pyramid of leadership.
The other component was primarily on the way the connecting the dots happened. Intellectual aspect of leadership is connected to the emotional and the cognitive aspect of leadership. So how we brought about the connection from the physical, emotional, cognitive, because the neuroscience is becoming such an important aspect of leadership these days, and connecting it back to the spiritual. So there were various levels of leadership, I would say discoveries of leadership rather, that people had in these last 3 days.
What we have tried to bring through in this workshop format is to connect the dots across the 6 different perspectives of leadership. Whether it be starting at the foundation of the physical perspective, to the direction of the spiritual perspective, to looking at some of the elements of the managerial perspective, balanced with the possibilities of the cultural perspective. Whether we go ahead and look at understanding ourselves through the psychological perspective or promoting ourselves through the political perspective. All of these different dimensions interspersed with the dimensions of music, dance, different experiences makes this holistic, wholesome and transformational.
How much more can you achieve if your team is at its physical best?
I'm only talking to you about the 5 elements of fitness, and it's my belief, and I know for sure that if you worked on them, you will pick up skills to transform yourselves as leaders, as people, as human beings. Strength, endurance, flexibility, balance and breadth. So the house of fitness, is not complete unless we pay equal attention to each of these elements.
It's a different perspective altogether. Maybe I think people say that the moment you see a person, it will create a different impression in your mind, right? The physical fitness also creates an impression about that character as well.
We started off with the physical perspective primarily because do you have the breadth that allows you to maintain the energy even under stressful situations? Are you showing up as the person who is operating at the next level? Or are you showing up as the person whom you are now? how do you show up is what you need to think of.
To understand life is not about just the work life, it's not about managing ourselves or managing our immediate team members, or how you engage up, how you engage across, how you really manage and work along with your peer community. I think a lot of learnings with different perspectives is something which is a big learning for us in this session.
We want to cover 3 different dimensions, and we want you to be effective across all of those dimensions: managing down, managing across, and managing up.
It gives you a way to introspect yourself and think differently the way we were thinking from a perspective. It has totally changed the way we now think, or the way I think now. And it gives me a reason of finding out how we can manage conflict with ease.
How we need to go out of this is primarily to go ahead and have a vocabulary to understand our unconscious choices for looking at conflict.
The whole emphasis of this workshop was to really provide that platform where intuitively you start looking within yourself to look at what are the kind of values, qualities, biases, mindsets with which we are operating. And definitely today when I am walking out of this workshop, I am far more aware of my own personal biases, myself as a person, far more aware of what I am compared to what I always thought I knew about myself.
As leaders, you have to think about how are you working with the differences that you find within your teams.
The archetypes, the entire session which happened, it had all the elements. It was funny to an extent because we were using multiple props, using the sword and the mukut and the stall becoming a sage at the very next minute. But I think that's the time in the entire 3-day workshop wherein I got emotional for a short period of time, thinking about different roles that we play in our lives and people who impacted our lives all this while. So I think that's the part I loved the most.
It was more of taking out your feeling. For example, fear is what I personally have that, and I could see that after doing that activity, immediately I was more vocal in my approach. That was an instant transformation which I could see there. When I could see, and when I was discussing this with Venkat, he himself said that Anshul, after that particular session, you have started speaking up more, and that is true.
Under what conditions is power and politics unacceptable for you as leaders?
I always thought that politics has got a negative connotation to it. Okay, this session, this 2.5 days, has actually helped me prove that politics is not always negative. Politics, when used in the right format and for the right causes, can be of a positive connotation. How power, which again looked upon, is I won't say a negative connotation, but power looks like putting down somebody and getting somebody else up. But it's exactly not like that. What I got to learn from here is how you can use power and politics together to bring about the change that you want to bring into an organization.
I think it has been quite enriching, quite fulfilling, if I may say so. And it sort of sets you on a path of self-discovery, which is the element that I've liked the most. More a self-awakening workshop for leaders and leaders in all walks of life.
It's been our pleasure to conduct the 3rd version of Global Leadership and Coaching Seminar, and I would consider it a privilege to have delegates from multiple different functions, all united by their need to operate at the next level of leadership.
Experiencing it is believing, so I would definitely recommend people to experience it. Thank you.
Thank you for all the good job, and I will look forward for the next training sessions coming out from. Thank you.
Helping somebody think differently. That is what is reframed.